the Week 14 defensive streamers. Who are your top Week 14 defensive streamers for this 1 week? If you got to win, you can't look ahead to your fantasy house. Certainly check that clip out if you do want to make sure to optimize for weeks 15 to 17. But you got to win. You got to get in. Let's talk about a few teams that could really help you out. First, the New Orleans Saints facing Carolina, 43% rostered. And as alluded to, they've given up 3 or more sacks in 7 straight games. The Panthers have 4, all but one of those games has been 4 or more sacks as well. They haven't scored more than 18 points since week 5. Absolutely abysmal. They've given up 7, 26, 7, 21, 10, and 7 points. So a nice baked-in floor. You're going to get 7 probably from the Saints at home, fired up in the Superdome, trying to win this division. They're still alive there. They are in a great spot to rebound big after getting smashed by the Lions. They're going to come back angry here and swallow up this pathetic Bryce Young offense. But I even like the Houston Texans, despite being on the road, even more. They had 8 more fantasy points in 3 of their last 4 games. Their last game out, 10 fantasy points against Denver, given 3 sacks and 3 interceptions in that game. The young guns are really coming to life here for this Houston defense. And they also get a pretty good schedule after this. Not only do they get the Jets team this week 14, who, as we mentioned, 12, 27, 8, 21, 21, and 17 points in their last 6 games allowed to defenses. I mean, that is league-winning stuff right there. The Texans could be the latest to queue up another 20-plus points against them. But even after that, you get Tennessee twice. You get Cleveland sandwiched in between there. So Houston does actually have some long-tail upside here for your fantasy playoffs if you want to add them this week. But then I also mentioned the Packers, who have a very, very good playoff schedule. Well, they also get a great matchup this week against the Giants, who are giving up the most points to defenses. And we have the Green Bay Packers right now. They have scored 12, 1, 5, 15, and they only gave up 19 points to the Kansas City Chiefs, 6 fantasy points as a defense against the Chiefs. That's not shabby at all. They have back-to-back games with at least 3 sacks. They have at least 1 takeaway in all of their last 5 weeks, and a defensive touchdown in there as well. It's a pretty opportunistic secondary. They've been doing this all without Jair Alexander as well, who could be due back against, again, a bad Giants team that's given up the most sacks in the league so far this year. So that could be a good matchup, your Packers. But I just want to emphasize again, I would look no further. If they're out there in your league, there is no reason to turn your attention to anyone other than the Indianapolis Colts. This week in week 14, they get Cincinnati, who, led by Jake Browning, is an absolute dumpster fire. And we want to just emphasize again, 26, 16, 11, and 18 fantasy points in their last 4 games, 17.5 points per game, by far the most in the league, 5 more points than the next closest defense, 21 sacks in that span, 9 takeaways, 3 touchdowns across these last 4 games. It has been an absurd stretch run for the Chiefs, or the Colts rather, and then you get a very, very nice playoff schedule as well with Mitch Trubisky, Desmond Ridder, and Aiden O'Connell, the quarterbacks that they're due to face in your most important weeks. So not only could they push you over the edge here in week 14 and get you into your playoffs, they could then bring you that title after the fact. So those are the top week 14 defensive streamers, but definitely at the top of the list is the Colts, both for this week and for your long-term upside there in your fantasy playoffs. I cannot stress enough how confident I am that this team is going to go on a crazy run and continue this absurd stretch that they've been having. What is up, you fantasy wolf? Thanks so much for tuning in. If you haven't already, share your thoughts in the comments, check out some more videos, and join the newest Wolfpack by subscribing below.